In this course, Sam and I will be using Visual Studio Code as our editor. So if you'd like everything to look the same as us, then we're going to go ahead and download that now and install it. In the past, if you've been on our other courses, you may have seen us using Visual Studio 2017 Community or a different version of Visual Studio. They'll both work. You can use any code editor you'd like for this course, but if you want things to look the same as us, then go ahead and grab Visual Studio Code now by clicking on the link that I've given you against this lecture. You can find the link, or you can just copy what we've got at the top, or you can just search for Visual Studio Code download. So click on the free download. That'll take you to a page with a bit more information and also start your download. Visual Studio Code is open source, which is great. It's very clean. It's very easy to use. One of the main reasons we're using it in this course is it looks the same for Mac and PC users, so we wanted to give everyone a consistent experience. So once it's downloaded, click to install, open that up, click next. Yes, I'll give Microsoft my firstborn child, whatever it's asking. Now take note of where the installation process wants to put it. For me, it's putting it in my users, Rick, App Data, Local Programs, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Okay, I'm just going to copy that, so I've got it for reference in a bit in case I need it. Jump over to next, Visual Studio Code. This all looks pretty good, and click on Install. Now, it's going to take a moment or two to install, so I'm going to pause the video now, and I'll be back here when mine is installed. Okay, it was actually pretty quick, just a 15-second process. Launch Visual Studio Code. Yes, we want to do that, because there's a couple of things I want to show you in terms of our setup that's quite important. Maximize the window here. Okay, just a quick intro. You can see we've got our tabs over on the left-hand side here, and then a panel, which is going to give us some information. This is where our code will be once we've got some code. Got a little welcome thingamajiggy in there. Get rid of that. There's a few pop-ups. I'm just going to exit out of those for now. And what we need to do is add a couple of extensions, or at least make sure they are added. Now, I've added this already because it's from a previous installation. And what you need to do is make sure you've got C# for Visual Studio Code. That should come default. If you don't have that, then you can search for it up here, C#, and that should take you to Microsoft's official C# extension. And then the other thing we need to have is Unity Code Snippets. So again, you can search for Unity Code Snippets up at the top. So click on make sure you clicked on the Extensions tab, and then search for that. I'm using the one by Kleber Silver, and it is Unity Code Snippets. So you can click on that, and then click on Install, and that will go through the installation process to install that. Now, you might go and look, if you click back on your extensions here, I'm just going to remove my search from the search bar. It'll show me what is installed. If you don't see it in there after installation, you might need to close down and then reopen Visual Studio Code, and then the Unity Code Snippets should be there. Why do we need that? Well, so when we type in things like start, it auto-completes, or it knows what on-trigger enter means, so it understands the Unity code, and it can help us and give us hints and clues to do with Unity code. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to go up to to File, Preferences, Settings. And we've got a search bar up the top here. We're going to look for Code Lens. Shows Code Lens. Controls whether the editor shows Code Lens. I'm going to turn that off. I won't go into a lot of detail about what that is, but that gives a little bit of extra clutter within our code that I'm going to turn off. In the future, if you want to play around with it, you can, but for now, I'm going to turn that off. And the other thing I'm going to search for is Format on Paste, and make sure Format on Paste is turned on. So it controls whether the editor automatically format the pasted content. So just pretties it up a little bit, gives it indentation and all those good things that we want. So they're the two changes to the settings that I've made, as well as the two extensions that I've added into Visual Studio Code. The last thing we need to do is to tell Unity that this is our editor of choice. So I'm going to go on, find my Unity Hub and open that up. That's what we installed in the previous video. Open up your Unity Hub. You can open up just any of the projects that you've got, or if you don't have a project already, just click on New. And from New, you can give yourself a name, the location, and the version. I'm using 2018.3.3. Just going to leave it all pretty default here. Create the project. I'm going to get rid of this later on. This is just so we can go into Unity and give ourselves a setting within our preferences there to make sure that we have Visual Studio Code set up. Okay, so this is going to take its 20 or 30 seconds to load up. I'm going to pause the video, and I'll see you back here in a moment once my project is loaded. Okay, now if this is the first time it's opened up, we might have a couple of things in here. TMP importer, that's to do with TextMesh Pro. I'm going to close that window just because I don't need it. And jump up to Edit, Preferences. Within Preferences, we need to click on External Tools, and then External Script Editor. I'm going to look for Visual Studio Code's not in there, so I need to browse for it. And remember, I copied my installation point before, which was Users, Rick, App Data, Local Programs, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Let's open that up. Yours might be in a different spot if you chose to install it in a different spot. That's where it is for me on PC. And then just double click on Code. And now it's changed to Visual Studio Code as my preferred editor. Excellent, close that down. Make myself a C# script in here. So just click on Assets, right click, create C# script, call it test. And then double click on test. If it's all gone according to plan, it should open up Visual Studio Code, maximize the screen. You can see we've got a pop-up down here. I'm going to ignore these for now. This might be something we need to pay attention to later on, but for now, I'm just going to dismiss this message. And you can see we have tabs up the top. All should be looking pretty familiar. And if you want to minimize this window on the left here, you can drag it around like that. And the final point I'll make is that we asked our community, would you prefer for us to work in a dark theme or a light theme? And it was pretty much 96% of people said, please use a dark theme. So here it is. We're using a dark theme. Might be a little bit different, a little bit unusual if you've been following our other courses. We've been using a white theme, but I think I think you'll get it. This is an intermediate course. I think you'll be able to accommodate the fact that it's a dark background. Okay, so that's it. We've set up Visual Studio Code. We've got Unity pointing towards it correctly. We're all ready to go. So in the next video, Sam's going to give you a rundown on the architecture that we're going through in this course and in our project.